All right, well, welcome everyone to the APR online study course. I'm Michelle Martin, and tonight we're going to talk about managing relationships. It's 15% on the APR exam, and it covers KSAs such as media relations, reputation management, internal communications, relationship building, networks. There's a section even on technology. And so speaking of all of that, let's talk about communication channels. So communication channels, that's the way that you communicate with your publics. So go into chat and tell us, what is a communication channel that you could use for internal audience engagement? And when we say internal, it's not just employees, it can also be members of an organization. So board members or members of an alumni association and those types of things. So what are some ways to communicate? I'm seeing Teams, the intranet, SharePoint, newsletters, digital billboards. Yes, those are all different ways. Staff newsletters, yep, of course. Emails, e-blasts, Teams channels. Yes, very good. Those are all different ways to communicate with your internal publics. And then just on a note, and you'll see this in the APR online study guide, that the most effective way to communicate with your team members is through their direct supervisor, because employees tend to trust their direct leader as their most credible source of information. So something to keep in mind. So as I mentioned, KSA, again, managing relationships, 15% on the APR exam. So it includes everything that you see here and much more. So consensus building, there's a process for that. Consulting and negotiation, there are steps involved with that. It has to do with information, time, and power. There's media relations, of course. We mentioned internal communications. There's social media, there's websites, there's technology channels, and so much. So there's lots on this in this KSA. So one of the things I want to talk about before we go into some of the questions, and we're going to hear a practice panel today, so we have lots to cover today, but I want to talk a little bit about the two-way symmetrical communication model. And in this model, this is what we aspire to. When you think about the definition of public relations, when you think about what public relations is, which is public relations establishes and maintains mutually beneficial relationships between an organization and its publics, this is the model that gets you there. So there's this connection. So the two-way symmetrical model is mutually beneficial. So that when we say that, that means that's a model that can create organizational change. It benefits you and it benefits your publics. And that's where the difference is between the two-way asymmetrical and the two-way symmetrical. So with the asymmetrical model, it's unbalanced. Okay, so the two-way symmetrical is balanced. It goes both ways. Asymmetrical only goes in the one way. So the important thing to remember with both of these models is that they both involve research. But the difference is with the asymmetrical model, that research is only used for messaging. So it doesn't lead to organizational change. And so what I mean by that is you're doing your research, you are finding out through your research that your publics maybe want something changed, or there is something that that you can do as an organization to benefit your organization and to benefit them. So that is where your symmetrical model comes into play, because it can lead to organizational change. So both you and your publics benefit. So again, mutually beneficial. So with the two-way symmetrical model, you can provide counsel to your leaders on different policies they might take, or certain actions that they can do that again are mutually beneficial. So that is the key. That model can create organizational change. The other models can't. And this is part of the excellence theory from James Grunig. And there are actually two additional models that you'll see in the APR study guide. there's these two, of course, but there's two others that come before it. One is press agentry, and that is it's a one-way model. It's all about promotion. The differences with that model is that sometimes, in some cases, truth and accuracy are not important, and there's absolutely no research involved. There's the other model is public information. That's a one-way model as well. You're pushing information out. Some people call it the in-house journalist. The difference is in that case, truth and accuracy matter. So you're sharing information, but there's no defined public. And you see that a lot in government. So you might be working for a city and you need to push out information about, say, a water main break. So it's factual, you're putting it out there, but it's one way. Okay. And sometimes organizations, they use a combination of these models. So it just really depends. But again, so there's press agentry, that's one way. Public information is one way. There's two-way asymmetrical, so two-way, but it's not balanced. And then there's two-way symmetrical, and it's balanced, but again, also it's mutually beneficial. So to go into this, I would like to introduce our facilitators. Um, we have actually a little bit of a change here. So Joel is joining us today, and then Ken is here as well. So I'd like to start with Ken. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your APR journey and anything else you'd like to add.
For sure. So my name is Ken Melton. I've been doing public affairs, APR. Oh, sorry, I just got my APR back last year. And I always been interested in trying to get that my APR. I took an APR like jumpstart course to get me going in May of 2023. And then I took the first online course, like this APR prep course over the summer. I had a coach and I had a mentor. And my coach was somebody who I met with weekly. He had an APR plus M. And we went through all the steps I would need to be prepared for the panel and for the test. And I had a mentor who was, kind of helping me understand what they're looking for on that panel and making sure I was ready for that panel. I did my panel in October. I took the test in February. I did not pass it. So I restarted the APR prep like in the middle of their semester again to catch up on some of the things that I was missing out on. And I took it again in April and I passed it. It's like a weight just lifted off. Like this is like the one of the third highest achievements, like, being in the Marines, getting my master's and not getting my APR. And I just love giving back, and I love being able to come back here and help other people out. So I'm happy to be here for this panel and help everybody.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And I'd like to hear from Joel. Joel, tell us a little bit about yourself and your APR journey.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everybody. Joel Fry. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I work for ALSAC, the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I am coming up on my 1-year anniversary of getting the APR, and that was after taking and being a part of this cohort last year, January through April. I'm glad to see that you're here and taking advantage of this resource. I found it to be very helpful, and the ability to network week in and week out and get tips and tricks and advice from those who had taken it and those who were taking it was very helpful. The APR journey was a part of my master's program at the University of Memphis. I actually was able to use it for my capstone, and that was a process within itself. My last semester of my master's program was dedicated to APR study, which really helped consolidate everything and kind of drill it down and kept me on task. So I was really thankful to have that opportunity to get to my APR. And everything that Ken said is true. It's totally worth it. The test is hard, but stay steadfast, and stick with it, and persevere, and you will too get to those 3 letters behind your name.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both. We're going to jump into our first scenario practice question, and CJ will be reading actually both of the questions. And when he does, just, think about the question, focus on what it is asking. What KSA is it? In this case, it's managing relationships. And think about some of those APR examination strategies that we always talk about. And always ask yourself, listen to those keywords and say, what is this question asking me? And then think about what's the best answer, because sometimes all of the answers can seem like the best answer, but they can't be. So when we read the question, go ahead, put your answers in chat, and here we go. Let's start. So let me know when you're ready.
So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good deal. You are the public relations director for a social service agency that serves the unhoused population, providing temporary shelter during extremely cold weather. You've seen an increase in the number of families and individuals needing your services, but are unable to keep up with the demand. Your executive director suggested looking for community partners to address the increased need. When you turn to relationship building, what are the first two groups you bring into the conversation? A, the people you serve. B, your frontline staff members. C, organizations also serving the unhoused population. D, city leadership. Or E, hotel motel owners.
Okay. All right, go in the chat. Tell us what you think the two correct answers are, the two best answers, we should say. So I'm seeing A and B. I'm seeing a few C's and D's. B and C. So it seems like there's a little bit of a variety of answers in here. So let's see what the correct answers are. B and C. So if you don't mind reading the rationale.
Absolutely. So the rationale for this KSA is managing relations. I'm sorry. B, your frontline staff members. APR study guide on page 92. Internal publics are essential to an organization's success. Furthermore, these internal groups are ambassadors for their organizations. When something affects the organization, the internal publics should be among the first to know. And also C, organizations also serving the unhoused population. And this is per AP Study Guide, page 89. Bruning and Lindenham identified three types of organizational public relationships: professional, personal, and community. These connections were built on trust, openness, involvement, investment, and commitment. These three relationship types help illustrate that organizations have more interactions with publics than simply financial transactions. Public relations practitioners use technique to encourage dialogue with professional, personal, or community publics, encourage consensus about issues, establish partnerships, or generate support for causes.
Okay. All right, so let's hear from our facilitators, starting with Joel. Tell me, what do you think about this question? Do you think you would see this on the exam? And how would you approach it?
I'm pretty sure I did see that exact question on the exam. I'm almost 100% sure. So in that regard, it is a great question. It is all of the questions, almost all the questions you're going to face on the exam, you're going to have to pick at least two answers. So that was I thought true to form with this question. And they're always it's always going to feel like there are more than even though there were two right answers, maybe the third or fourth one feels right as well too. You have to pick the best two, and that really drills down into identifying the KSA and tying it back to and tying it back to that, and really giving yourself the best chance to identify the two best answers. So thought it was a good question, and very similar to what you'll see when you take the exam.
All right, good, thank you. And Ken, what are your thoughts on this?
So this was a good question. It tricked me up a little bit. Again, kind of like what Joel was saying. Sometimes you may see possibly three right answers, and I was struggling with between A and C, and A and C and B. So it's one of those things you really have to. Oh, thanks. So it's like the people you serve are part of the relationship building, but first, before you do that, you need to talk to the people who are working. So that's like the key. It's like who is actually going to be doing the work, and then after you do talk to people doing work, then you can work with the people you serve. So they are part of relationship building, and but it's the first two groups that's the key. The first two is who is going to be doing the actual work itself. So that was a good question, and it tripped me up a little bit, but I have to find those key words.
Yeah, and I think we had this question in a previous cohort, and we had quite a bit of conversation about it. I remember that coming up because somebody was saying, we don't want to go to the people we serve first because that could also cause some concerns and things. We don't want to get people upset or worried. So we're going to go to the next question, and CJ will be reading this one as well. So when you're ready, please let me know.
Relations Director for an e-commerce chain that sells products to customers in North America. In Q4, all marketing, communication, and public relations efforts increased for the busy holiday season. There is a threat that the supply chain may not be able to meet the demand, although it has never happened in the history of the company. Hurricane season also poses a threat during that time. A hurricane is being tracked near states in the southeast. All major shipping companies have increased delivery dates up to 14 business days, with only 4 weeks until Christmas. How do you advise internal and external stakeholders to proceed in light of the events? And in this scenario, we were going to select two. A, advise internal and external stakeholders of the hurricane, but do not include messaging regarding supply chain constraints. B, bring decision makers to the table with an established agenda, supporting a new course of action with supervisors. Agree to the deliverables and implement them as a team. C, recommend emergency messaging is sent to customers who may be affected by shipping delays and request adjustment of marketing efforts meant to sell additional products to customers in the Southeast states. D, gather information from internal teams and make a recommendation on ramping up production and increasing shipping cutoff dates to customers to ensure Christmas delivery.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go into chat and tell us what are the two best answers. I'm seeing pretty much everybody is putting, for the most part, B and D, although I saw a few C's and D's in there. So let's see. I see a B and D, a B and C, B and D. Let's see what the right answer is. B and D. So the rationale for it.
Exchange relationships are strategic and or I can never say this word, utilitarian. They rely on persuasion, but they often break down with disagreements. But they often break down when disagreements arise between the parties involved, which makes consensus building an essential tactic in organization communication, essentially in order to prevent a lag in appropriate action and unfavorable comments. Communal relations may include emotional ties, proximity, and geography. They rely on two-way dialogue and are more likely to survive disputes. It is considered the stronger of the two. However, both are apparent in external and internal relationships with stakeholders. Thus, it is essential to employ RPI, consensus building, consulting, and proper education with purpose through balanced two-way communication in this event.
Okay, let's go to our facilitators and let's hear from you. Starting with Ken, what are your thoughts on this question? And would this be something you think that you would see on the exam?
This is definitely something you see on an exam. This is almost teetering on the edge of crisis communications. But the thing is, like, looking at the first question where it says do not include messaging, that's the first takeaway of that's not the right answer. Once you start with whole information, you can almost say this is going to be damaging for a relationship. I'm glad everybody was quick to point out about B, That was really good to see. But C and D had people a little tripped up, which is understandable. But C is kind of something that recommend emergency messaging, but it's like, you gotta ask yourself, what emergency messaging? We haven't got that far yet. You know, we're still trying to gather information. We're in that gathering phase. Um, so just being able to understand that there's just continue to be certain things and how you want to do it. Like, what is the process? If you stick with the process of doing your research, then doing your planning and implementation, and then executing, that'll help you out almost every time a question like this pops up.
Okay, and I want to jump in because I see there's some comments in chat. So the correct answer is B and D, but I know when we go to this slide, it says B and C. So it is B and D. And then just as Ken said, the reason you would not have C is because what emergency messaging, we're jumping the gun on that, for example. Joel, I'd like to hear from you. Tell us about whether you think this would be something you'd see on the exam. And if so, how would you go about answering the question?
Yeah, this is definitely another good sample question. I think to Ken's point, just to dig in a little bit more there too, when you think about the questions and you try to identify which KSA is this question speaking to, this one's tricky because it does kind of lend itself to crisis as well. So a question like this, for me, just reiterates the fact that the concentration that you have to bring to every question, and first identifying the KSA, which will increase your chances of leading you down the right path to getting the right answers, is just really key. And a question like this is one that you could end up probably taking a little bit more time on it than you need to, or not enough time, because if you go straight to this is a crisis question or an issues question and base your answer on that KSA instead of the relational one, that might trip you up too. So there's all this nuance that's built into these questions. And for me, this one just reiterates the high level of concentration that you have to extend from question to question while taking the exam.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Somebody asked, are all the questions mixed up in random order, or are the ones, hold on, my thing is moving here.
They're all mixed up.
Or are they all, okay, yep, or are they all ones from particular KSA? Okay, yep, and somebody said they're mixed. So, okay, all right, well, thank you. So we're going to go into the module notes and Kirsten is going to be presenting. So Kirsten, let me know when you're ready and I will start the slides.
All right, I'm ready. Whenever you're ready to start them here. Okay. So managing relationships and public relations, key concepts and strategies for building trust and credibility. What is PR relationship management? It's a process, not an event. PR relationship management is about building and maintaining good relationships between an organization and the people it cares about, like the media, customers, employees, investors, or the community. It's how PR professionals connect with people, build trust, and keep a good reputation over time. Some of the key parts are listening, understand what your audience cares about. That's communicating, engaging, responding, and maintaining trust. Communicating, share messages clearly, honestly, and consistently. Engaging, interact with people, not just talk at them, but with them. Responding, handle feedback, questions, or even complaints professionally. Maintaining trust, be reliable and transparent so people feel good about the relationship. Example situations, media, a PR rep keeps in touch with reporters and gives them helpful and accurate information when news breaks. Customers, a company responds kindly to customer complaints on social media and thanks happy fans. Employees, internal PR makes sure workers are informed and feel valued. Community, a business builds goodwill by supporting local events or charities. Building relationships uses strategies like persuasion, negotiation, and consensus to build trust with key stakeholders, encourages two-way communication, allow all voices to be heard, and work toward shared solutions. Two main categories of public relations are exchange versus communal relationships. Exchange relationships are strategic, they're give and take, rely on persuasion, may break down when disagreements happen. Example would be a company gives reporters news stories and access to events, and in return, the reporters give the company media coverage. It's a give and take. The company wants publicity and the reporters want good content. If the company stops sharing news or the reporter writes negative stories, the relationship might break down. It's strategic based on persuasion, mutually beneficial, mutual benefit, not loyalty. And then communal relationships are based on trust, care, emotional ties, proximity, and long-term loyalty. They're long-lasting and stronger. An example would be a school supporting families during hard times with resources, expecting nothing in return. The organization gives support without expecting anything in return, and it emphasizes open two-way communication and emotional connection. Consensus building help groups reach shared decisions. It's not just majority rules, but all parties need to agree and support the final decision. The steps in consensus building are to find the right people to join the discussion, help the group set a plan for how things will work, talk about and understand the problem together, look at different solutions and weigh the options, guide the groups and make decision, and make sure everyone agrees on the final solution. Example, you're with a group and you're trying to decide where to eat for dinner. One person wants pizza, another wants tacos, somebody else wants burgers. You talk it out, you listen to each other, and finally decide on the place that everyone's okay with. Maybe it's a food court that has all three. That would be your consensus building. Consulting skills mean being a trusted advisor who helps clients communicate better, solve problems, and make smart decisions about their image and message. Consensus skills necessary for PR professionals is to be creative, having new solutions, messages, and options. Good communication skills, verbal, written, electronic, and online. In-depth knowledge of the issue or issues. Respect for the person or group needing consultation. An understanding of the importance of confidentiality. You're not just doing the tasks, you're thinking strategically, giving expert advice, and helping them see the big picture. Negotiation skills. Negotiating skills use the information and power to affect behavior as defined by Cohen. Negotiating skills are about using what you know and the influence you have to help shape how others act or make decisions. There are three things that affect how you negotiate: information, time, and power. With information, you might feel like the other side knows more about you than you know about them, and that can make you unsure or nervous. Time, you might feel more rushed than the other side, like you have a deadline and they don't. That can make you feel more pressure to give in. Power, you might think that you have more control or authority than you do, and that can make you feel that you have to accept their terms. The key point here is that they are your feelings or beliefs and not always the truth, but they still affect how you act in a negotiation. Negotiating is about working things out in a fair way so everyone can move forward. Reputation management is the practice of shaping, maintaining, and protecting the public perception of an individual, organization, or brand. The key aspects of reputation management are monitoring public opinion, keeping track of how the public, media, and stakeholders view the organization through social media, news, and feedback, responding to crises, quickly addressing negative situations like scandals or controversies to minimize the damage to the reputation, building positive image, actively promoting positive stories, achievements, or values of the organization, consistency, ensuring that a message is consistent across all platforms and interactions to build trust, transparency, being open about challenges or mistakes and communicating solutions or improvements. Reputation management and PR is about controlling and influencing how others perceive a person, company, or brand, ensuring it's positive and aligned with the company's organization's values or goals. Reputation, that is the sum of what others think about your organization. It's the public's long-term opinion about how trustworthy, reliable, and responsible the company is. It would be good service, ethical choices, and honesty build it. Your reputation can change quickly as others are constantly evaluate what you do and say. Example, Nike has a strong reputation for high quality athletic gear, but at times it's faced criticism for labor practices which affect their reputation. Corporate reputation is the company's total reputation with all the audiences, including employees, investors, customers, media, and not just the public. Example would be Nike's corporate reputation includes its image as an innovative leader in sports, but also knows how it's viewed by workers, partners, and business community. Image is like a snapshot. It can shift overnight. A PR campaign, a scandal, or a viral moment can affect it. When Nike launched the Fly Ease shoes designed for people with disabilities or limited mobility, it created a positive public image of Nike as inclusion and being an inclusive and innovative brand. The media and public praised Nike for doing this and thinking about accessibility and inclusion. This boosted Nike's image at that moment, showing that the brand as caring and forward-thinking. And then brand is designed by the company. It's your slogan, your logos, your ads, your customer experience are all part of the brand. Example, Nike's brand's about performance, inspiration, and empowerment. The slogan of just do it and the Nike swoosh, all being the choice of top athletes. And then trade name is the business name the company operates under. You see it on websites, stores, and legal documents. It's the doing business as well. So Nike is the trade name. It's also the brand name. The full legal name is Nike Incorporated, but we know it is just simply Nike. And then internal stakeholders are individuals or groups with an organization who are directly affected by or have an interest in the organization's activities, decisions, and communication. Internal stakeholders are the people inside of an organization who are affected by or involved in its communication and decisions. That includes employees, managers, executives, board members. They matter in PR because keeping them informed, motivated, and connected helps the whole organization succeed. The importance of internal stakeholders in PR would be alignment. Internal stakeholders need to be aligned with the organization's goals and messages so they can effectively communicate externally. Morale, clear, honest internal communication boosts employee morale and loyalty. And advocacy, employees and leaders can serve as ambassadors for the organization, spreading positive images and supporting its reputation. The strategic management of interactions between the organization and media. It involves building and maintaining positive relationships with journalists, reporters, and the media outlets to secure favorable coverage and effectively communicate messages to the public. The key components of that would be building relationships with journalists, establishing trust and an open communication with journalists who cover your industry or field. Media outreach, reaching out to journalists to pitch stories, press releases, or exclusive news. It could be personal emails, phone calls, or press conferences. Responding to media inquiries, providing timely, accurate, and helpful information. When journalists reach out for quotes or information. Crisis communication, managing media relations during crisis by offering clear, consistent updates and addressing any negative press. And then monitoring coverage, media coverage, keeping track of media mentions and coverage to understand public perception and the impact of your PR efforts. Media relations, it's conferred by publics. It's not projected by the organization. Reputation may change quickly, as others consistently evaluate what you say and do. How to build strong media relationships, be reliable, deliver accurate info, and meet deadlines, be relevant, send pitches that match a journalist's beat or audience, be respectful, don't spam or pressure journalists, be responsive, follow up politely, and answer questions quickly. And then the importance in PR for media relations is brand visibility. Positive media coverage increases awareness and recognition of the organization. Credibility, third-party validation from trusted media outlets adds credibility to the organization's messages. Reputation management, effective media relations help protect and enhance the organization's reputation, especially during a crisis. And media relations is about creating strong, mutually beneficial relationships with the media to help control and share the brand's narrative with the public. Network, public relations in the digital age, kind of a quick summary over this part, is that technology gives more ways to connect, but PR's goal is still the same: build trust and have two-way relationships. Social media lets PR talk directly to the public. There's no need to go through the news media there. Old media, TV, newspapers still matter. PR should do both old and new tools. News is now 24/7, so PR professionals always have to be ready to respond. Anyone can post news, good or bad, so PR must be quick and careful. The use of online data, likes and shares wisely, focus on what helps your goals. Online messages reach the whole world, so be careful with cultural differences. Strong writing and thinking still matter more than just knowing the newest tech. And again, the newspapers, TV, face-to-face events are still important, even in the digital age. And a PR professional must use both traditional and digital channels.
Okay, well, thank you. There was a lot there. That was really good. Lots to talk about. So I'd like to start with Ken. Tell me your thoughts on this presentation and anything that you'd like to add to it.
It's a very good presentation. I really enjoyed it. Great examples and great points that you pulled off of there at the end. Just to manage relationships between like the media and the organization is a very difficult thing to do, and you really laid out how it could be done. So I can't say anything other than really good, very impressed, and I enjoyed your presentation, Kristen.
Thank you. And Joel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very thorough. And I think if you look at the KSAs, and we're talking about relationships tonight, and you've got RPI, leading the function, ethics, issues, and theory. Relationships, if there's one that you can sort of maybe default to in your day-to-day job, especially if you're in a kind of classic media relations function where you're kind of in the middle and you're managing relationships externally with stakeholders, internally with stakeholders. This is the one where I think you can really rely on a little bit more intuitiveness than the other ones. And I was looking back at my own scores on the exam, and I did the best on this section, and I think some of that lent itself to it. So great job. A lot of the stuff, again, in my opinion, is probably the things that you were doing on a day-to-day basis in your positions. So lean on that. I'm not saying don't study the relationship KSA, because it is important to know and breathe them all. But if there is one that might lend itself to a little bit more of your day-to-day role and what you're doing, I think it's this one. And I think Kristen did a great job in encapsulating all of that over the course of her presentation.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Well said. We're moving on to a practice panel presentation, and Susan is going to be presenting. So Susan, let us know when you're ready.
I'm ready, thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say this is happening in real time, so it still is evolving, but I did want to present this because I'd love to get feedback too. The two-line communications plan is currently happening for my agency, that is a public transit system in Phoenix, Arizona. So the background situation overview. Valley Metro Rail is opening a 5-mile extension on the regional light rail system in June of 2025. This extension will connect South Phoenix to the existing 30 miles of light rail, creating a new 2-line rail system. The 2 lines will be identified as A line and B line. The transfer point is new and features 4 platforms where the 2 lines meet. It's called the Downtown Hub. Audiences may be aware of the new stations due to construction over a 5-year period. However, the 2-line system and how to transfer between lines is new. It will completely change how many riders access their destinations. So this is a map of the new 2-line system. And I will talk a little bit more about how we're going to get to that point. But this will be the new system. A portion of this already exists, and we will be opening a new portion to create the 2-line system in coming months. So a little background and timeline. The downtown hub, which you see here in the orange and blue, the planning began in 2012 and went through 2017. The design occurred through 2019. Construction was a long period of time. In addition to this downtown hub, we're also talking about the 5.5 miles that go south. And so that construction was about a 5-year period. And then we are opening later in June of this year. So in a SWOT analysis, the strengths of this plan and of the 2-line system is that the community is eagerly awaiting the opening of the new extension, and it brings some new energy into downtown Phoenix, as well as the line that will be traveling 5 miles south. The weaknesses are construction fatigue and then confusion with transfers. We've never had a 2-line system before, and really no one is really aware of that. The opportunities is that it does provide new destinations for many people to go to jobs, school, and entertainment. It also provides a community economic boost. The threats are that we have misinformation spreading from an anti-rail group, and also riders are required to pay when transferring, which they have not done in previous to now. So research. We started with research last year. We did go out to stakeholder groups, staff, our community partners, and riders on navigating the 2-line wayfinding with a field test and signage. And that gave us some results that I will talk about too. But basically, it was a little confusing for people. They really wanted more direction and more guidance. So we knew that we had to be very clear in the kind of messaging that we were providing before we were opening up the 2-line system. And then in April and in June, we will be conducting some online surveys, pre-opening and post-opening. We will be utilizing a survey link that will be sent out to email lists, posting links on social and our website to determine awareness prior to opening, and then the knowledge of the system, 2-line system after opening. And then we will be conducting content analysis across the period between April and June to measure sentiment of social posts, comments, reactions, and media stories. And of course, we'll be changing our communications plan based on the input that we are getting through the surveys and the content analysis. So research findings, riders want clear and straightforward signage to help them navigate around the downtown hub. They want use of maps and colors on the platform and wayfinding signage. That was very helpful when we did share that. There were issues with some sign placement or missing directional information, and then some people were overwhelmed with the information, leading them to uncertainty and knowing what was relevant to guide them to the correct platform. And as you can see from the photo here, we did engage persons with disabilities that had sight, vision impairment, and maybe had difficulties navigating the downtown hub area using mobility devices. So goal and objectives, our riders, a goal is our riders are favorable and confident about Valley Metro with the opening of the new two-line system and understand how to navigate the A and B lines and how to pay a fare when transferring. Our audience is formulated of 4 different groups here. We have our internal audience, which is our front line. That would be like our security officers and bus operators, people that are actually on the front line engaging with our riders. We have our contractors that provide the services, and we have our administrative staff. So by June 1st, the objective is to reach 75% of our internal Valley Metro staff and 40% of our contract staff regarding the features of the new two-line system. Another audience are riders, both light rail and bus riders. By June 14th, 2025, increased by 50% the knowledge of approximately 32,000 riders per day who understand how to transfer between the A and B light rail lines and are aware that tapping and fare may be required when transferring. For our social followers, by June 14th, we garner 50% increased engagement on organic social posts about the new two-line system and their followers. And then with stakeholders, by June 1st, reached 75% of stakeholder groups regarding features of the new two-line system. And by stakeholders, I'm talking about the communities that we serve, as well as the businesses that we serve, the other transportation agencies that support us, and our employers that are going to be impacted with their employees using the system to go to jobs or to destinations. So our strategies for the internal audience, get easy to consume information out in advance of our two-line opening that informs and encourages sharing via communications channels such as tabling, lunch and learns, WebEx chat, email, and digital billboards. For our riders, our strategies are to inform and educate on the new two-line system and its benefits using a variety of communications channels, including social, earned media, station announcements, push notifications, and podcasts. For social, post appealing videos and graphics that share information on the two-line system, transfers, and ease of use, create favorability to encourage sharing. And then also for their stakeholders, provide regular updates and information that can be shared to their audiences in advance of the two-line opening using a variety of communication channels, including podcasts, email, social, earned media, and a social toolkit. So our messaging is let us connect you to new destinations and new opportunities with our A and B lines. And then A line goes east and west, and the B line goes north and south. So that is going to be different. Currently, we have one line, and it goes both east and west and north and south. So we're breaking it up into 2 lines and adding to the north-south line. The downtown hub provides a connection point in downtown Phoenix where riders can transfer between the 2 lines. And then tap your fare card or scan your mobile fare each time before boarding and when transferring. And then if you buy a one-ride fare, it's good for 2 hours after purchase and is valid for trips within the time period. So you can actually transfer if you're transferring within the 2-hour period. So tactics and timeline. I will go through this. First of all, we are going to continually be providing our frontline staff with talking points each week and update them as we need to. That will be provided in-house. We will also be utilizing our staff communication channels such as a WebEx chat and memos and email, our digital billboards, and that will continue. We'll begin April 14th and go through the opening date. Our digital survey will happen starting next week and go through May 2nd. We will ask our riders and followers and stakeholders to participate in this digital survey to give us kind of the baseline of where their awareness is of the two-line system, so we can make adjustments in our plan. We will be providing gift cards for those, a random drawing for those who participate. So that encourages participation in the survey. We will be doing some short form videos on the writer journey that we will be posting. Our audience there is the writers, followers, and our social followers and stakeholders. That will be done in-house, and the timing is similar, starting next week through early June. We also produce we'll also be producing podcasts. We will have a podcast in April and one in May that will talk about the two-line system, navigating the two-line system, as well as the opening of the extension. We are launching a two-line web landing page that we can direct people to. That's an important part of our communications, and that will be done in-house. We will be posting many different types of communications. I'm including marketing here. This is a station poster that they're designing, which will be going up along our system. And then the budget we have for printing, in-house design. Our media buy, we will be conducting a media buy, which is a partnership between communications and marketing to try to extend awareness among our writers, stakeholders, our community, and the budget of $30,000 for that. And then I think I mentioned Storylines podcast, so I won't repeat that. We will be sending out e-blasts April through June. With subscriber lists that we have, we will be making rider announcements on both our buses and at our light rail stations. We will be conducting tabling at various events with community relations that will happen across the time period where we're launching to opening. We will be having a media event when the first sign is installed at the downtown hub. And then obviously our audience there is reaching out, getting earned media for our writers and our stakeholders. We'll have a presser on the A and B lines and how to transfer that we will conduct in May, and then it will be conducted at the downtown hub. We will be renting audio equipment, but it will be managed by our in-house PR team. And then we will have a presser on the pre-opening excitement. We will be launching community-wide. So prior to that, we will be having a presser that features what's going to be happening during the opening day, which will include 3 different sites, a huge ribbon cutting, a lot of different activities that engage the community. We're also looking at our social followers to provide onboard influencers to spread the word about the different aspects of the two-line opening, not only navigating it, but also the benefits of it. We'll be providing a social toolkit to our stakeholders, which we'll produce in-house. We will be producing a promo piece that can be distributed by our frontline staff or also at our community relations events that we're taking out to the public, various community events. We will schedule and boost posts that will feature our two-line system and the messaging behind that. We're going to be conducting a scavenger hunt on social media that will hopefully engage our writers and our stakeholders and the social followers to come downtown and actually make that journey themselves. And then we'll follow it up with a writer, social follower, stakeholder survey after the opening to understand how well we communicated the opening, the two-line system, what additional information they need, and to continue the education process for both paying fare and the two-line system. So as I just explained at the beginning, this the evaluation lessons learned, or TBD, this is happening in real time. So I am very much looking forward to your comments and questions that you might have and thoughts. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And there are lots of comments and chat. So if you would like to send me an email tomorrow to remind me, I can download all that and send it over to you. A couple comments in there that I saw come across, they loved the tabling idea and then the short form video tactic. So anyway, lots to talk about. So I'd like to start with Joel. Your thoughts on this presentation?
Yeah. You already know this. You're going to have to see it through and have some measurements and the evaluation piece before you can take it to panel. So I'm excited for you to get through this and then to give yourself the right amount of time to take a really careful and calculated look at what you did and measuring the effectiveness, because that's going to be a really key piece of information that you're going to have to deliver when you present this at panel. But overall, what you've constructed so far, I think, plays really well to the R, P, I, and E. I appreciated how you called out the research at the beginning. One thing I jotted down, and you may want to speak specifically to how the research is going to inform each of the pieces that you're going to be presenting on. So, for example, how the research informs your strategy, how it informs those target audiences, how it's guiding your objectives. And if you lay all that out at the beginning, then that really sets the table up for you when you go into more of the nuts and bolts and tactics and here's what we implemented to get to a point where we felt good about the goals and objectives that we achieved and how we measured against those. But I think you're on a good track, and I think provided everything goes how you foresee it going over the next few months, you'll have a killer panel to deliver and hopefully set yourself up for the exam.
I agree. Ken, what are your thoughts?
Oh, for sure, Joel. That was pretty comprehensive. So I'll try to keep my comments brief, as I know we're on time. First off, Susan, I would really love to connect with you after this because I'm also working on a light rail project in Baltimore, and I was real to some of these things. I was like, man, this is some good stuff here. So kudos on you on your project, because we're just getting started. On the other side, there was a comment about the double-barreled kind of goals. I was kind of looking at that goal as well. I was like, it seems like it needs to be broken up a little bit. So I kind of that's one kind of takeaway. The other one takeaway is like I was a little confused. It's more of a you pick goals and objectives, but then as I was looking through it, I realized your audiences it should be audiences objectives. So it's kind of like it just needs to be slid over a little bit. The other thing is like really nit thing is like the graphic design of it all. I was a little worried about the font. I don't know how how ADA or anything type of client it could be. That was a little bit of thing. That was a little bit of a nit. Otherwise, looking forward to really seeing you lay out the evaluation. Probably digging a little bit more into that budgeting part. But I thought it was a great presentation. Like I said, I'm like I need to talk to you because you have it laid out that I'm still working on. So
All right, well, thank you. So just a reminder, just keep working on things. Once you get to 75%, we have an APR tip sheet for you that will help you study for the exam. We'll also give you a certificate when you complete the program. And just a reminder, next week we're moving into module 10. So we're going to be talking about panel presentations. And as Michael said last week, this is the final cohort for the APR online study course. PRSA is planning to launch a new study course in 2026. And Michael will be archiving all of the recordings on YouTube. So this actually will be my last APR online study course. And for those who didn't know, I was in this course about 2 years ago and started hosting later that year. So it's been a really great opportunity. It's been really good getting to know so many of you. So please stay in touch. And finally, I want to thank our facilitators for joining us tonight. So Ken and Joel, thank you for being here. CJ, thank you for reading the questions. Kirsten, thank you for the notes. And Susan, thank you for the panel presentation. So just again, keep working on things. Don't forget, keep working on thinking about what your panel presentation will be. Keep studying, but go at your own pace. Find a study partner, find a mentor, and just keep working on all of the activities in the online course. Also, be sure to join the YouTube playlist. If you download the slides, you will find the link for that, or feel free to send me a message. I'll shoot you an email. And that is it. So have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.